The chamber was enormous, bigger than any building Jake Morrison had ever seen on Earth. The walls were made of some kind of crystal that glowed with soft blue light. Hundreds of alien beings sat in circular rows around the center floor, each one representing a different civilization from across the galaxy. Some looked almost human, while others were so strange that Jake had trouble understanding what he was looking at. There were beings made of light, creatures that floated in tanks of liquid, and things that seemed to exist in multiple dimensions at once. Jake stood next to Lisa Grant on the central platform. They were the only humans in the entire chamber. Lisa wore her formal ambassador uniform, dark blue with silver trim. Jake wore his military dress uniform, medals gleaming on his chest. Both of them knew this moment would decide the future of their entire species. The leader of the council rose from the highest seat. Sovereign Velthara was 12 feet tall and looked like a living statue carved from purple crystal. When it spoke, the sound came from everywhere at once, filling the chamber with a voice that was both beautiful and terrifying. "We have made our decision regarding the humans of Earth," Velthara announced. The chamber fell silent. Even the aliens who had been whispering to each other stopped talking. Jake felt his heart pounding. He had been in combat before, had faced death more than once, but this was different. This decision would affect billions of people back home. "The Council has reviewed all evidence presented over the past 6 months," Velthara continued. "We have studied human history, examined human technology, and observed human behavior. We have reached a unanimous conclusion." Lisa squeezed Jake's hand briefly. It was against protocol, but Jake was grateful for the gesture. "Humanity has violated 17 galactic laws," Velthara said. The crystal being's form glowed brighter. "You have expanded into restricted space without permission. You have refused to share military technology with the Council. You have declined to accept guidance from older, wiser civilizations. Most concerning, you have demonstrated aggressive tendencies that threaten the peace we have maintained for 10,000 years. Jake wanted to argue, to defend humanity, but he knew he had to wait. The Council followed strict rules about who could speak and when. "Therefore, the Council issues the following requirements," Velthara said. "Earth must disarm completely within 90 days. All military vessels must be surrendered to Council forces for decommissioning. Earth must accept Council overseers in every major city to ensure compliance with galactic law. Humanity must agree to never expand beyond the 3 star systems you currently occupy. Finally, Earth must pay reparations for the violations already committed." The chamber filled with approving sounds from the alien representatives. Some clicked their approval, others hummed, and a few made sounds Jake had no words to describe. "You have 72 hours to return to Earth and bring back your government's acceptance of these terms," Velthara said. "Refusal will result in immediate enforcement action. The Council's fleet will ensure compliance by whatever means necessary." Now it was Lisa's turn to speak. She stepped forward, and her voice was steady, despite the impossible situation. "May the first ask a question, Sovereign?" She said. "You may," Velthara replied. "What happens if Earth refuses these terms?" The chamber went completely silent. Jake realized that no one had ever asked that question before. No species had ever refused the Council's judgment. Velthara's crystalline form turned bright red for a moment. "Then the enforcement fleet will take action. 200 warships will travel to your system. They will disable your orbital defenses, destroy your military vessels, and occupy your planet until compliance is achieved. We estimate this action would take less than 1 hour." Jake felt cold. 200 warships against Earth's 27. It was not even close to a fair fight. "You understand?" Lisa said. "We will return to Earth and deliver your message." As they walked out of the chamber, Jake noticed something. Every alien in the room was watching them with the same expression. It was not quite pity, but something close. They all seemed to think the decision was already made. Humanity would surrender because there was no other choice. The trip back to Earth took 3 days. Jake and Lisa spent most of that time in silence, reviewing the Council's demands, trying to find some way out. There was none. The math was simple and brutal. Earth could not win a military fight against the Council. When they arrived at Earth, President Helen Carter was waiting for them at the orbital station. She was a woman in her 60s with gray hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. She had been a general before becoming president, and she understood military reality better than most. "Tell me everything," Helen said. They sat in a secure conference room while Jake and Lisa explained the council's demands. Helen listened without interrupting. When they finished, she was quiet for a long moment. "They want us to give up everything that makes us human," she finally said. "Our freedom, our independence, our future." "Yes, ma'am," Jake said. "And if we refuse, they will attack with overwhelming force," Lisa said. "We cannot win that fight, Madam President." Helen stood and walked to the window. Earth hung below them, blue and beautiful. Home to 8 billion people who had no idea their world was about to change forever. "Call an emergency meeting," Helen said. "I want every military leader, every department head, every advisor. We have 72 hours to make the most important decision in human history." The meeting took place in a bunker deep beneath Washington. Admiral Frank Hayes represented the Navy. General Claire Watson commanded the Planetary Defense Forces. Paul Jenkins, the Defense Secretary, brought intelligence reports. 24 other leaders filled the room. Helen played the recording of the council's demands. When it finished, the room exploded with angry voices. Everyone was talking at once, arguing, shouting suggestions. "Quiet," Helen said. Her voice was not loud, but everyone stopped talking immediately. "We need to focus on facts," Helen said. "Can we win a military fight against the council?" General Watson shook her head. "No, ma'am. We are outnumbered almost 10-1. They have ships we have never seen before, weapons we do not understand, and technology centuries ahead of ours." "What about negotiation?" Helen asked. "The council does not negotiate," Lisa said. "They issue judgments. They expect obedience, so our choices are surrender or die," Paul Jenkins said. "No," Jake said. Everyone turned to look at him. "There's a third option." "What option?" Helen asked. "We say no," Jake said. "We refuse their demands." "We fight, Jake. We just agreed we cannot win," Admiral Hayes said. "We cannot win a traditional fight," Jake said. "But who says we have to fight the way they expect? The council has been in charge for 10,000 years. Every species they know joined peacefully. They have never fought a species that reached the stars on their own. They have never faced an enemy that refuses to surrender." The room was quiet again. Everyone was thinking about Jake's words. "You're talking about a war we cannot win," General Watson said. "I am talking about a war they do not know how to fight," Jake replied. Helen looked around the room at all the faces. These were the best minds humanity had, the people who would have to turn theory into reality if they chose to fight. "Take a vote," Helen said. "Everyone in this room gets one vote. Do we accept the council's terms, or do we refuse?" The vote took 5 minutes. When it was done, the result was unanimous. Every single person voted to refuse. Helen nodded slowly. "Then we fight. God help us all." General Claire Watson stood in front of a massive holographic display showing Earth and the surrounding star systems. Red icons marked the locations where the council's fleet would likely approach. Blue icons showed Earth's defensive positions. There were far too many red icons and not nearly enough blue ones. "We have 5 days before they arrive," Claire said to the officers gathered in the command center. 5 days to prepare for the biggest fight in human history? Captain Ryan Blake was there, commanding officer of the ESS Defiance, Earth's most advanced warship. He was a tall man with dark hair going gray at the temples. He had been in the Navy for 20 years and had never lost a ship in combat. "What are our orders, General?" Ryan asked. "We cannot defend everything," Claire said. "So we defend nothing. We make them come to us, we make them fight on our terms, and we make them pay for every inch they take." She pointed at the display. "The Council expects us to meet them in open space, fleet against fleet. That is how galactic warfare works. They line up, we line up, and whoever has better shields and more ships wins." "Which is them," another officer said. "Exactly," Claire replied. "So we do not line up. We scatter. Every ship operates independently. We use the asteroids, the moons, the planets themselves as cover. We hit them and run. We make them chase us through terrain they are not used to fighting in. Ryan studied the display carefully. You were talking about guerrilla warfare. In space? Yes, Claire said. The Council has technology we cannot match. But they have something else we can exploit. They have never lost a major battle. They are overconfident. They think we are primitive. We use that against them. While the military prepared, Dr. Sophie Reynolds was working in a facility 500 feet underground. She was a small woman with red hair, always tied back in a messy bun. She had 3 PhDs and was considered the smartest Pond's designer on Earth. Her laboratory was filled with equipment that most people would not understand. Particle accelerators, magnetic coils, power generators that could light up an entire city. In the center of it all was her project, the weapon that might give humanity a chance. How is it coming? Asked General Watson, who had come down to check on progress. See for yourself, Sophie said. She pressed a button, and a section of the floor opened up. A massive railgun rose into view, 50 feet long and covered in cooling systems. This is the Mark 7, Sophie said. It fires a solid projectile at 15% of light speed. The Council's energy shields are designed to deflect lasers and plasma. They have never seen a kinetic weapon with this much power. Will it work? Claire asked. In testing, a Mark 7 round went through 6 feet of titanium like it was paper, Sophie said. A Council ship's hull is strong, but it is not that strong. If we hit them, we will hurt them. How many can you build in 5 days? Sophie smiled. It was not a happy smile. I have been building them for 6 months, General. Every ship in the fleet is getting at least 2. The Defiance is getting 6. Back on the Defiance, Ryan was meeting with his senior officers. Lieutenant Amy Foster was his tactical officer, a young woman who had graduated top of her class at the academy. She had been studying every battle the Council had ever fought, looking for weaknesses. I found something, Amy said, bringing up a display. The Council fights the same way every time. They form a battle line, advance slowly, and overwhelm the enemy with superior firepower. It is very effective against opponents who fight the same way. But we are not going to fight the same way, Ryan said. Exactly, Amy replied. They have doctrine, training, rules of engagement. We have desperation and creativity. If we can disrupt their formations, make them break their standard tactics, they will not know what to do.
Oh.
They will adapt, another officer said. Eventually, Amy agreed. But adaptation takes time. If we can win the first battle, we buy Earth time to prepare for the second one. The 72 hours passed quickly, too quickly. Jake and Lisa returned to the Council chamber, broadcast to every screen on Earth, and transmitted across the galaxy. Billions of humans watched. Hundreds of alien civilizations watched. Everyone wanted to see what humanity would do. Jake stood on the central platform again. This time he was alone. Lisa was back on Earth, helping coordinate the defense. Sovereign Velthara looked down at him from the highest seat. Have you brought your government's acceptance? Velthara asked. Jake took a deep breath. I have brought my government's response. Then deliver it. We respectfully decline your terms, Jake said. The chamber erupted. Aliens jumped to their feet, making sounds of shock and outrage. Some were clicking rapidly, others were buzzing, and a few were making sounds that hurt Jake's ears. He stood still, waiting for the noise to die down. Velthara's crystal form glowed bright red, then shifted to orange, then back to red. You refuse? We do, Jake said. Humanity will not surrender our freedom. We will not accept occupation. We will not limit our future based on the fears of others. Then you choose war, Velthara said. No, Jake replied. You chose war when you demanded we give up everything we are. We are simply refusing to surrender before the fight begins. You cannot win, Velthara said. Our fleet will destroy yours in minutes. Your planet will be occupied within hours. Thousands, perhaps millions, will die. All because of your pride. Jake felt anger rising in his chest, but he kept his voice calm. It is not pride. It is principle. Humanity spent thousands of years learning a hard lesson. Freedom is not given. It is not granted by others. It is taken and held by those brave enough to fight for it. We would rather die free than live as slaves.
Althara said.
Maybe, Jake said, but we are free fools, and we will remain free, or we will die trying. Belthara stood to full height, towering over the chamber. Then the Council's judgment is clear. The enforcement fleet is authorized to use whatever force is necessary to bring Earth into compliance. You have chosen your fate. Jake nodded once. See you on the battlefield, Sovereign. He turned and walked out of the chamber. Behind him, the alien representatives were already discussing how quickly Earth would fall. Most estimated less than a day. Some thought it would be over in hours. None of them expected humanity to last a week. On Earth, President Helen Carter watched the broadcast. When Jake delivered the refusal, she felt a mixture of pride and terror. Pride that humanity had chosen freedom over slavery. Terror at what was coming next. It is done, she said to the people gathered around her. The Council will attack within 5 days. Are we ready? As ready as we can be, Admiral Hayes said. Then let's make sure we give them a fight they will never forget, Helen said. Across Earth, the military mobilized. Every ship launched and took up position. Ryan Blake stood on the bridge of the Defiance, watching his crew work. They were scared, he could see it in their eyes, but they were also determined. Captain, we have confirmation, Amy reported. The Council's enforcement fleet has left their staging area. They will arrive in 5 days, 4 hours, and we have 5 days to finish preparations, Ryan said. Send a message to all ships. Tell them to get ready. Tell them that in 5 days, we show the galaxy what humans are made of. In her laboratory, Sophie was installing the last railgun on a fighter craft. Her hands were shaking slightly. She had designed weapons before, but never weapons that would be used in a battle that could mean the end of everything. Will they work? Her assistant asked. They will work, Sophie said. The question is whether we can hit enough Council ships before they overwhelm us. What are our chances? Sophie did not answer right away. She had run the numbers 100 times. The math was brutal and unforgiving. Honestly, maybe 5%, probably less. Those are terrible odds. Yes, Sophie said, but 5% is better than 0. And 5% means there is a chance. As long as there is a chance, we fight. The days passed in a blur of activity. Every human on Earth knew what was coming. Some were terrified. Some were angry. But most felt something else entirely. They felt determined. For the first time in human history, the entire species was united behind a single purpose. General Watson watched the preparations from her command center. She had fought in wars before, had seen good people die for important causes. But this was different. This was not a war between nations or ideologies. This was a war for survival, for the right to exist as free beings. General, all ships report ready, an officer said. What about the civilian evacuation? Complete. All major cities have underground shelters. If the Council attacks Earth directly, casualties should be minimized, should be Claire repeated. She knew that should be and would be were two very different things. On the Defiance, Ryan was doing a final inspection of his ship. Everything was ready. The crew was trained. The weapons were loaded. Now there was nothing left to do but wait.
Captain,
Amy said, I have been thinking about the first engagement. What about it? If we can destroy enough of their ships in the first battle, it might make them hesitate, Amy said. The Council has never taken significant losses. If we hurt them badly enough, they might pause to reconsider. Or it might make them angry enough to use even more force, Ryan said. Yes, Amy admitted. But at this point, I think making them angry is better than making them confident. Ryan smiled. It was the first time he had smiled in days. You know what, Lieutenant? I think you are right. The Council's enforcement fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of Earth's solar system. 200 warships. each one larger than anything humanity had ever built. They moved in perfect formation. A wall of metal and energy shields that stretched across space like a steel curtain. Admiral Kethron commanded the fleet from his flagship, the Infinite Justice. He was a veteran of 40 campaigns and had never been defeated. He looked at the sensor readings showing Earth's pathetic little fleet hiding near Jupiter and felt something close to pity. This would not be a battle. It would be an execution. Broadcast our demand on all frequencies, Kethron ordered. Tell them they have one final chance to surrender. The message went out across the solar system. Every human ship received it. Every person on Earth heard it. The demand was simple and cruel. Surrender now or be destroyed. On the bridge of the Defiance, Ryan Blake listened to the message and then deleted it. He opened a channel to all Earth ships. It's all vessels. This is Blake. Weapons free. Execute attack pattern Delta. Show them what we are made of. Amy pressed a button on her console. Firing solution locked. All ships report ready, Captain? Then let's begin, Ryan said. The Defiance fired first. 6 railgun rounds launched from the ship's main batteries, accelerating to 15% of light speed in less than a second. They crossed the distance between Jupiter and the Council fleet in 4 minutes. Admiral Agrithron saw the weapons coming on his sensors. He almost laughed. Solid projectiles. This species was using primitive kinetic weapons against energy shields designed to stop plasma cannons. It was like throwing rocks at a tank. Then the first round hit the destroyer. Endless light. The shield flared bright blue for half a second, then collapsed. The railgun slug punched through the ship's hull, through 3 decks, through the reactor core, and out the Oath. Our side, the destroyer exploded in a ball of white fire. Kethron stared at his screen in shock. That was impossible. Energy shields did not fail that easily. But then the second round hit another destroyer, and the third hit a cruiser. Both ships were torn apart. All ships, evasive maneuvers, Kethron shouted. Return fire immediately. The Council fleet opened fire with plasma cannons and energy beams. Space lit up with weapons fire. But the Earth ships were no longer where the sensors showed them. They had scattered in every direction, using Jupiter's moons and the asteroid belt for cover. Ryan watched the plasma bolts fly past his ship. It's missing by hundreds of meters. They are targeting where we were, not where we are. Their sensors have a delay. Our ships are faster, Amy said. We can use that. All ships maintain evasive patterns, Ryan ordered. Do not stay still for more than 5 seconds. Keep moving, keep firing. The battle became chaos. Earth's ships darted between asteroids, fired their railguns, then moved again before the Council could target them properly. It was nothing like the organized, formation-based warfare the Council was used to. A council. Battleship tried to pursue the Earth cruiser Horizon into the asteroid field. The captain was so focused on his target that he did not see the asteroid until it was too late. The battleship crashed into the massive rock at full speed, its shields overloading from the impact. The Horizon came around behind it and fired 6 railgun rounds into the battleship's exposed engines. The ship went dead in space. This is madness, Kethron muttered. They fight like animals, without formation, without honor. Sir, we have lost 18 ships, his tactical officer reported, and we have only destroyed 4 of theirs. How is that possible? They are not fighting us directly, Admiral. They attack, retreat, attack again. They never stay in one place long enough for us to concentrate fire. Kethron realized he was fighting an enemy that did not follow any rules he understood. The humans were supposed to be inferior, supposed to be easy to defeat. Instead, they were tearing his fleet apart. Sophie watched the battle from her command center on Earth. Every time one of her railguns destroyed a Council ship, she felt a mixture of satisfaction and horror. Satisfaction that her weapons worked, horror at what those weapons were doing. Target the heavy cruisers, she transmitted to the fleet. Their shields are stronger, but if we concentrate fire, we can break through. Ryan received the message and adjusted his tactics. He ordered 5 Earth cruisers to focus on a single Council battleship. 20 railgun rounds hit the target in less than 10 seconds. The shields held for the first 5 shots, weakened on the next 5, and collapsed completely on the 10th. The remaining rounds tore the battleship into pieces. "It works," Amy said. "Concentrated fire breaks their shields." "Then we keep doing it," Ryan said. "All ships, pick targets, and focus fire." "I want coordination, people." The battle raged for 3 hours. Council ships kept trying to form battle lines, to establish the organized formations they were trained for. But Earth's ships refused to cooperate. They hit from unexpected angles, targeted ships that were isolated, and retreated before the Council could respond effectively. Admiral Kethrin watched his fleet count drop. 20 ships lost. Then 30. This was supposed to be simple. This was supposed to be quick, sir. "Recommend we pull back and regroup," his tactical officer said. Kethrin wanted to refuse. He wanted to keep fighting, to crush these upstart humans. But he was also a professional, and professionals knew when to adapt their strategy. "All ships withdraw to the outer solar system," he ordered. "Maintain defensive formation." The Council fleet began to retreat. They moved slowly, carefully, maintaining their shields and watching for pursuit. But the Earth ships did not chase them. They held position near Jupiter, watching and waiting. On the Defiance, the crew erupted in cheers. They had done the impossible. They had forced the Council's fleet to retreat. "Damage report," Ryan said. "Minor hits on 6 ships," Amy replied. "We lost 3 fighters and 1 destroyer. The rest of the fleet is intact." Ryan felt relief wash over him. They had won the first battle. Not decisively, not permanently, but they had won. Earth bought itself time. General Watson received the battle reports in her command center. She allowed herself a moment of satisfaction before getting back to work. "Send a message to all ships. Tell them they did well. But tell them this was just round 1. The Council will be back, and they will be better prepared next time." President Helen Carter watched the broadcast of the battle on every news channel. She saw the human reporters struggling to describe what had happened. The emotion in their voices. "The hope we won," Paul Jenkins said, standing next to her. "We won a battle," Helen corrected. "The war is far from over. The Council has hundreds more ships. Thousands, if they really commit. We hurt them today, but we did not break them. But we proved we can fight them." "Yes," Helen said. "We proved that. Now we need to figure out how to keep proving it." Admiral Kethron sat in his command chair reviewing the battle data. He had lost 32 ships. 32. Against a force that was supposed to be primitives with crude weapons. He sent an urgent message back to the Council headquarters. The message was simple, but devastating. Humanity was far more dangerous than anyone had realized. They fought in ways the Council had never seen. They used tactics that were considered dishonorable by galactic standards, but were devastatingly effective. And most concerning, they showed no signs of being afraid or willing to surrender. Kethrin ended the message with a recommendation. "Send more ships. Many more ships. And send officers who were willing to learn from this engagement, who could adapt to human tactics." On Earth, Jake Morrison met with Lisa Grant to discuss what came next. They both knew the Council would not give up after one defeat. "They will come back," Lisa said. "With more ships, better strategy. This victory bought us time, but how much? A week," Jake estimated. Maybe 2. The Council needs to process what happened, reorganize their fleet, develop new tactics. "Can we win a second battle?" Jake did not answer right away. He wanted to say yes, wanted to be confident, but he had to be honest. "I don't know. We surprised them today. Next time, they will be ready for our tactics. We need to evolve faster than they can adapt." "That is asking a lot." "I know," Jake said. "But it is the only way we survive." Ryan Blake gathered his senior officers in the Defiance's briefing room. They needed to analyze the battle, learn from it, prepare for the next one. "What did we learn?" Ryan asked. Amy brought up a display showing the battle. "We learned their shields are vulnerable to kinetic weapons. We learned they are not good at fighting in cluttered space. We learned they rely too much on formation, and not enough on individual initiative. What else? They adapt slowly, another officer said. It took them almost an hour to start changing their tactics. By then, we had already destroyed a quarter of their fleet. They will adapt faster next time, Ryan warned. We cannot count on them being unprepared again. Then we need new tactics, Amy said. Something they cannot predict? Cannot prepare for? Any ideas? Amy smiled. Several, but they are all crazy. Crazy is what we need, Ryan said. Let's hear them. While the military planned their next moves, Sophie was already working on new weapons. The railguns had worked better than expected, but they needed more. They needed weapons that would keep the council guessing, keep them off balance. She looked at the designs on her screen. Missiles that could split into multiple warheads. Mines that could cloak themselves. Electronic warfare systems that could jam council communications. Each one was experimental, barely tested, but they had no time for lengthy development cycles. Build all of them, she told her team. We have maybe 2 weeks before they come back. Every weapon, every system, every crazy idea we have, build it all. The news of the battle spread across the galaxy. Species that had been part of the council for thousands of years watched the recordings in disbelief. Some were shocked. Some were impressed. Some were worried about what this meant for the future. On the council's home world, Sovereign Velthara convened an emergency session. The recordings of the battle played on massive screens. Council members watched in silence as human ships destroyed vessel after vessel. Hey, this changes everything, one representative said. It changes nothing, Velthara replied. Humanity got lucky. They will not be lucky again. But even as the Sovereign said those words, there was doubt in the chamber. For the first time in 10,000 years, the Council's absolute authority had been challenged. And the challenge had succeeded. The Galactic Unity Council met in emergency session. The chamber that had been filled with confident voices 2 weeks ago was now tense and uncertain, representatives whispered to each other. Casting nervous glances at the screens, showing the aftermath of the battle, Sovereign Velthara stood before them all. Its crystalline form glowing with barely controlled anger. Humanity has humiliated us. They destroyed 32 vessels. They forced our enforcement fleet to retreat. This cannot stand. A representative from the Velic Consortium rose to speak. Perhaps we should reconsider our approach. The humans have proven more capable than we anticipated. Are you suggesting we negotiate with them? Velthara asked, its voice sharp. I am suggesting that continued warfare may cost more than it gains. Unacceptable, Velthara said. The Council's authority cannot be questioned. If we allow humanity to defy us, others will follow. The order we have maintained for 10,000 years will collapse, another representative spoke up. Then we need to crush them completely. Send a fleet so large that resistance is impossible, agreed, Velthara said. I am authorizing the deployment of 500 warships. Commander Zara Veen will lead the operation. Her orders are simple. Bypass Earth's fleet and strike Earth directly. Force immediate surrender. Across the chamber, screens showed Commander Zaravine accepting her assignment. She was a legend in Council military circles, known for crushing rebellions with ruthless efficiency. She had never lost a campaign. On Earth, General Claire Watson received intelligence about the new fleet heading their way. 500 ships. It was an overwhelming force, more than twice what they had faced before. We cannot win, Admiral Hayes said bluntly. Not against that many ships. Then we changed the rules again, Claire said. She turned to look at Ryan Blake, who had been called to the command center for an urgent meeting. Captain Blake, I have a mission for you. It is dangerous, probably suicide, but it might be our only chance. Ryan listened as Claire explained the plan. Instead of waiting for the Council's fleet to arrive, Earth would take the offensive. They would strike at Council infrastructure, their shipyards, their supply lines. Make them defend their own territory instead of attacking Earth. You want us to attack Virus Prime? Ryan said. The shipyards where they build their vessels? Yes, Claire said. If we can damage or destroy those facilities, we delay their ability to build more ships. We also send a message. Nowhere is safe. It will cost us, Ryan said. A lot of ships, a lot of lives. I know, Claire said. But if we sit here and wait for them to attack us, we lose everything anyway. At least this way, we hurt them first. Ryan thought about it for a long moment. He thought about his crew, about the risks, about what would happen if they failed. But he also thought about what would happen if they did nothing. When do we leave? He asked. 24 hours, Claire said. I am giving you 15 ships, the fastest and best we have. Get in, hit them hard, and get out before they can respond. Ryan returned to the Defiance and assembled his crew. He explained the mission, did not hide the dangers. Some of them looked scared. All of them volunteered anyway. We leave in 24 hours, Ryan said. Use that time to rest, to contact your families, to make peace with whatever you need to make peace with. Because once we jump into hyperspace, there is no turning back. The jump to Varus Prime took 3 days. 15 Earth ships traveled through hyperspace, moving faster than light, racing toward the heart of Council territory. They knew that once they arrived, they would have maybe 30 minutes before Council Defense Forces responded. 30 minutes to do as much damage as possible. They emerged from hyperspace 5,000 miles from Varus Prime. The shipyards hung in orbit around a massive gas giant. A sprawling complex of construction bays, factories, and refineries. Hundreds of workers were building the next generation of Council warships. All ships, weapons-free, Ryan ordered. Target the construction bays. Fire everything. The Earth fleet opened fire. Missiles streaked across space, followed by railgun rounds moving at relativistic speeds. The shipyard's shields activated, but they were designed to protect against asteroids and debris, not military weapons. The shields collapsed under the assault. Explosions rippled across the facility. Construction Bay 3 disintegrated in a ball of fire. Bay 7 was torn in half. A nearly completed dreadnought, scheduled to launch the following month, took 3 direct hits and broke apart. The station's defense systems came online, firing back at the Earth ships. Plasma cannons lit up space with green fire. The Earth cruiser Valiant took a direct hit, its shields failing. The ship spun out of control, atmosphere venting from a dozen breaches. Valiant is down, Amy reported. The rest of the fleet is still operational. Continue firing, Ryan ordered. We have 15 more minutes. More missiles launched. More railgun rounds found their targets. The central reactor complex on Varus Prime started to overload. Warning alarms blared across the facility. Workers evacuated in escape pods, fleeing the dying station. Sir, we have incoming, Amy said. Council Defense Fleet, 20 ships, arriving in 5 minutes. Keep firing until they get here, Ryan said. Make every shot count. The Earth fleet kept up the assault until the Council ships arrived. Then Ryan gave the order to retreat. The Earth ships jumped back into hyperspace, leaving Varus Prime burning behind them. The attack made galactic news immediately. Every species in the Council watched the footage of the burning shipyards. The Council had claimed that humanity was isolated, trapped in their own system. But humanity had just struck hundreds of light years away, destroying one of the Council's most important facilities. Commander Zara Veen watched the footage from her flagship. She had been planning to strike Earth directly, but now she had to reconsider. If Earth could hit Varus Prime, they could hit other targets. The Council's infrastructure was suddenly vulnerable. She split her fleet. Half would continue toward Earth. The other half would spread out to protect key installations. It was not what she wanted to do, but it was necessary. On Earth, President Helen Carter watched the reports coming in. The attack on Varus Prime had been successful, but it had cost them. 3 ships destroyed, 2 more badly damaged. Over 400 crew members dead. Was it worth it? Paul Jenkins asked. Ask me in a week, Helen said. If it delays their attack, if it makes them hesitate, then yes. If not, we just lost good people for nothing. Lieutenant Amy Foster was analyzing the Council's response patterns when she noticed something important. Every time humanity did something unexpected, the Council took hours to adapt. They waited for orders from Central Command, followed established procedures, relied on doctrine. They cannot think for themselves, she said to Ryan, or they are trained not to. Every captain waits for orders instead of making decisions. That is a huge weakness, Ryan said. Yes, Amy agreed. But we need to exploit it before they learn to fix it. She worked through the night, developing new tactics based on this weakness. If Earth's captains could make decisions independently, act on opportunity, adapt in real time, they could stay ahead of Council forces even when outnumbered. She presented her ideas to General Watson the next morning. Claire listened carefully, asking questions, challenging assumptions. When Amy finished, Claire was quiet for a moment. You were talking about completely decentralized warfare, Claire said. Every captain making their own decisions, no central coordination. Yes, ma'am, Amy said. It is risky, but it is also our best chance. The Council cannot predict what we will do if we do not know ourselves until the moment we do it. What if our captains make bad decisions? Some will, Amy admitted, but I trust our people to make more good decisions than bad ones. And even bad decisions made quickly are better than good decisions made slowly. Claire approved the new tactics. Every captain in Earth's fleet received training on independent operations. They were told to trust their instincts, to take calculated risks, to act without waiting for orders. Commander Zara Vane's fleet arrived at Earth's solar system. 10 days after the first battle, she expected to find Earth's ships waiting in defensive positions. Instead, she found nothing. The solar system appeared empty. Where are they? Her tactical officer asked. Scan everything, Zara ordered. They are here, somewhere. The scans revealed Earth's ships scattered throughout the entire system. They were not in formation, not defending any particular location. They were everywhere and nowhere.
Oh, this is chaos,
Zara muttered. There is no structure, no organization. Orders, Commander? Zara had to make a choice. She could advance slowly, carefully clearing each section of space, but that would take weeks. Or she could push forward aggressively, accepting some losses but maintaining momentum. She chose aggression. All ships, advance in battle groups. Clear each sector systematically. The battle that followed was unlike anything in galactic military history. Earth's ships attacked from unexpected directions, hit Council vessels that were isolated or vulnerable, and retreated before reinforcements could arrive. Council ships tried to maintain formation. The formation kept getting disrupted. A Council cruiser pursuing an Earth destroyer suddenly found itself ambushed by 3 Earth cruisers hiding behind a moon. The cruiser's shields collapsed under concentrated fire before help could arrive. An Earth frigate pretended to flee, leading 6 Council ships into an asteroid field where the rest of Earth's fleet was waiting. The Council ships found themselves surrounded, taking fire from all directions. Zara watched her carefully planned assault fall apart. Her captains kept requesting orders, asking what to do, waiting for her to make decisions. But the situation was changing too fast. By the time she gave orders, the circumstances had already changed. All ships, independent action, authorized, she finally ordered. Captains may engage targets of opportunity without waiting for orders. But her captains had been trained for decades to follow orders, to maintain formation, to fight as a cohesive unit. They could not simply start thinking independently because someone told them to. It was not how they had been trained. The battle raged for 2 days. Council ships destroyed several Earth vessels, but they lost even more of their own. Zara's 500-ship fleet was reduced to 400, then 350. On the Defiance, Ryan was exhausted but determined. His ship had taken damage, his crew was pushed to their limits, but they were still fighting. Status report, he asked. We have lost 8 ships, Amy said. Another 12 are heavily damaged. But we have destroyed at least 100 Council vessels. They are not retreating, Ryan said. Why are they not retreating? Pride, Amy said. They cannot afford to retreat again. The Council's authority depends on appearing invincible. Then we keep fighting until one side breaks, Ryan said. General Watson watched the battle from Earth's command center. The losses were heavy on both sides, but Earth was running out of ships faster than the Council was. Simple mathematics said Earth would lose. We need to end this battle, she said. But how? Sophie had been working on something new. A weapon she had not tested, had not even finished building. But desperate times required desperate measures. I have an idea, she transmitted to the fleet. But it is completely insane. Sophie's weapon was simple in concept, but terrifying in execution. She had modified several large asteroids with thrusters and guidance systems, essentially turning them into massive kinetic missiles. Each asteroid weighed millions of tons. If they hit at full speed, nothing could stop them. You want to drop asteroids on the Council fleet? Ryan said when he received the plan. Not drop, Sophie corrected. Accelerate to maximum velocity and aim them precisely. The Council's shields can handle energy weapons. They cannot handle that much mass moving that fast. What if you miss? Then we wasted a lot of effort moving rocks, Sophie said. But if we hit, we can end this battle. Ryan made the decision. Do it. The asteroids launched from positions throughout the solar system. The Council's sensors detected them immediately, but the tactical officers dismissed them as minor threats. Asteroids were natural objects, easy to avoid or destroy. Then the asteroids began accelerating. Thrusters fired, pushing multi-million-ton rocks to speeds that should have been impossible. The Council ships tried to shoot them down, but their weapons were designed for ships and missiles. It's not for solid objects that large, moving that fast. The first asteroid hit a Council battleship head-on. The ship's shields flared bright white and collapsed instantly. The asteroid smashed through the hull like it was made of paper. The battleship broke into 3 pieces, each piece spinning away into space. The second asteroid struck a carrier, the largest ship in Zara's fleet. The impact was so violent that the carrier's reactor went critical. The explosion lit up space like a small sun, destroying 4 nearby ships caught in the blast. Evasive maneuvers, Zara shouted. All ships scatter now. But breaking formation was exactly what Earth wanted. As Council ships scattered to avoid the asteroids, they became vulnerable to attack from Earth's fleet. Human ships that had been waiting for this moment struck from every direction. The battle turned into a rout. Council ships were trying to evade asteroids, defend against Earth's weapons, and maintain some kind of organization all at the same time. It was too much. Ships collided with each other. Weapons fire hit friendly vessels. The perfect discipline of the Council's fleet collapsed into chaos. Commander Zaravine watched her fleet falling apart and made a decision that she knew would end her career. All ships retreat. Fall back to Rally Point Delta. The surviving Council ships jumped into hyperspace, abandoning the battle. Out of 500 vessels, fewer than 200 escaped. The rest were destroyed or disabled, floating dead in space. On the Defiance, Ryan's crew erupted in celebration. They had won. Against impossible odds, with inferior numbers, they had defeated the Council's fleet. Send a message to all ships, Ryan said. Tell them we did it. Tell them Earth is safe. But Ryan knew this was not truly over. The Council still had more ships, more resources. This battle was won, but the war could continue. On Earth, President Helen Carter addressed the planet. Billions of people watched as she spoke from the White House. Today, humanity achieved something that many thought impossible, Helen said. We defended our world against an enemy that claimed to be invincible. We proved that freedom is worth fighting for, that courage can overcome superior numbers, and that humanity will never surrender our right to determine our own future. She paused, letting the words sink in. But we also paid a price. Over 2,000 brave men and women gave their lives defending Earth. We honor their sacrifice. We remember their courage. And we ensure that their deaths meant something. Across the galaxy, the news of Earth's victory spread rapidly. Species that had never questioned the Council's authority suddenly began asking uncomfortable questions. If humanity could defeat the Council's fleet, what did that mean for the Council's power? What did it mean for the future? In the Council chamber, Sovereign Velthara faced something it had never experienced before. Open rebellion among the Council members. Representatives were arguing, shouting, demanding answers. How had this happened? How had a primitive species defeated the Council's military? Order, Velthera demanded. We must have order.
Ash.
But order was hard to maintain when the foundation of that order had been shaken. The Council's authority had always rested on the assumption that they were superior, that their military was unbeatable. That assumption was now in ruins. A representative from the Talish Federation stood. Perhaps it is time we reconsider our approach to humanity. They have proven they will not submit. Continuing this war will only cost more lives. Are you suggesting we negotiate? Velthara asked. I am suggesting that we adapt to a new reality, the representative replied. Humanity is here to stay. We can either accept them as equals or continue fighting a war we may not win. The debate raged for hours. Some representatives wanted to send an even larger fleet to crush humanity once and for all. Others argued for peace, for finding some way to coexist. The Council was divided in a way it had not been in thousands of years, Commander. Zaravine returned to Council space in disgrace. She had lost more than half her fleet. Her career was over. But she was also honest about what she had learned. Humanity fights differently than any species we have encountered, she reported to the Council. They do not wait for orders. They do not follow predictable patterns. Every captain thinks independently, adapts constantly. Our doctrine, our training, our entire military philosophy is designed for a type of warfare that humans simply do not engage in. Then we train our forces to fight the way humans fight, Velthera said. That would take decades, Zara replied, and there's no guarantee it would work. Humans have been fighting each other for thousands of years. They have more experience with warfare than any species in the Council. The truth was becoming clear. The Council could probably still defeat humanity if they committed enough resources. But the cost would be enormous, both in ships and in lives. And even if they won, they would have to occupy a planet full of people who would never stop resisting. Meanwhile, Captain Ryan Blake received an unexpected communication. It was from Commander Zaravine, transmitted on a secure channel. Captain Blake, I am requesting a meeting, the message said. No weapons, no hostilities. Just a conversation between two military officers who are tired of watching people die. Ryan was suspicious, but he was also curious. He agreed to meet at a neutral location, small trading station on the border of Council space. They met in a private room, just the two of them. Zara was a tall, elegant being with silver skin and eyes that seemed to see everything. She looked at Ryan with something that might have been respect. You fought well, Zara said. Better than I expected. Better than anyone expected? Thank you, Ryan said carefully. Though I suspect you did not ask me here for compliments. No, Zara agreed. I want to know what humanity wants. Your leaders keep saying you just want to be left alone, but is that really true? Ryan thought about the question. We want what every species wants. The freedom to grow, to explore, to build our own future. We do not want to conquer anyone. We do not want to destroy the Council. We just want to be free. The Council cannot accept that, Zara said. Their entire authority is based on controlling and guiding younger species. If they let humanity go free, others will demand the same. Then maybe it is time for the Council's authority to change, Ryan said. Zara was quiet for a long moment. You realize what you were suggesting? You were talking about changing a system that has lasted for 10,000 years. I am talking about survival, Ryan said, for both our peoples. Because if this war continues, a lot more people are going to die. And for what? Pride. Control. Is that really worth it? Zara stood and walked to the window, looking out at the stars. I will take your message back to the Council. I cannot promise they will listen, but I will try. Back on Earth, Jake Morrison and Lisa Grant were working on some thing that seemed impossible. A formal treaty between Earth and the Council. A way to end the war that both sides could accept. The negotiations took 3 weeks. The Council's representatives were difficult, demanding concessions that Earth refused to give. Earth's representatives pushed for terms that the Council found humiliating. But slowly, carefully, they found common ground. The Treaty of Earth, as it came to be known, included several key provisions. Earth would limit its expansion to specific sectors, but would have full autonomy within those sectors. The Council would recognize Earth as a sovereign power with the right to self-defense. Earth would accept Council observers but not controllers. And most importantly, Earth would be invited to join the Galactic Unity Council. As a full member with voting rights, some Council members were outraged by the terms. They saw it as surrender, as giving away power that the Council had held for millennia. But others saw it differently. They saw it as evolution, as the Council adapting to a new reality. President Helen Carter signed the treaty in a ceremony, broadcast across Earth and throughout the galaxy. She used a pen made from metal recovered from one of the destroyed Council ships, a reminder of the price that had been paid. "This treaty is not perfect," Helen said, "but it is peace. It is recognition. It is humanity taking our place among the stars, not as subjects, but as equals." Sovereign Valthera signed for the Council. The crystalline being's form had lost some of its brightness, as if the recent events had drained some of its energy. "The Council acknowledges humanity as a sovereign power," Valthera said. "We recognize your right to determine your own future. We welcome you to the galactic community as equals." The words were formal, almost cold, but they were also historic. For the first time in 10,000 years, the Council had been forced to compromise. General Claire Watson stood with Admiral Hayes, watching the ceremony. "Do you think it will last?" Hayes asked. "The peace?" Claire considered the question. "Maybe, or maybe we will be fighting again in 10 years. But for now, we have time. Time to rebuild, to grow stronger, to prepare for whatever comes next." Captain Ryan Blake returned to the Defiance to find his crew celebrating. They had survived. Their ship had taken damage, had lost friends, but they were still here. "What happens now, Captain?" Amy asked. "Now we go home," Ryan said. "We rest. We remember those we lost, and we get ready for the future." Lieutenant Amy Foster was promoted to commander and given her own ship. Dr. Sophie Reynolds received a medal for her contributions to Earth's defense. Jake Morrison and Lisa Grant became Earth's first ambassadors to the Galactic Unity Council. Earth's military began a massive expansion program. New ships were built, incorporating lessons learned from the war. New weapons were developed. New tactics were trained. Earth would never again be caught unprepared. Across the galaxy, other species watched humanity's rise with mixed feelings. Some were impressed by human courage and determination. Others were worried about what this aggressive new species might do in the future. But all of them agreed on one thing. The galaxy had changed. The Council's absolute authority was broken. A new era had begun. 1 year after the treaty was signed, Earth launched its first deep space colony ship. The destination was a star system 40 light-years away, beyond the sectors Earth had agreed to limit themselves to. When the Council's observers objected, Earth's response was simple. "Oh. The treaty limits military expansion," Lisa Grant explained. "It says nothing about civilian colonies. We agreed not to build military bases beyond certain boundaries. We did not agree to stop exploring." The Council debated this interpretation for weeks, but eventually accepted it. The treaty's language was clear, even if the intent had been different. Ryan Blake, an admiral himself, stood on the bridge of a new ship. Earth had built 50 vessels in the past year, and more were under construction. The fleet that had barely survived one battle was now a force that even the Council respected. "Do you think we will have to fight them again?" his first officer asked. "Maybe," Ryan said. The Council is not happy about humanity's continued expansion, but they also know that stopping us would cost more than they are willing to pay. He looked at the view screen showing Earth hanging in space. "We bought our freedom with blood and courage. Now we have to prove we deserve it. We have to show the galaxy that humanity can be trusted, can be reasoned with, can be partners instead of threats. That is asking a lot." "Yes," Ryan agreed. "But if anyone can do it, humans can. We did not get this far by taking the easy path." On Earth, President Helen Carter met with her advisors to discuss the future. Humanity had survived its first test on the galactic stage, but there would be others. The question was whether Earth could maintain its independence while also learning to coexist with thousands of other civilizations. "The Council still does not trust us," Paul Jenkins said. "I know," Helen replied. "But trust is earned over time. We proved we will fight for our freedom. Now, we need to prove we can be responsible with that freedom." She looked at the reports on her desk. Earth's economy was booming. New technologies developed for the war were being adapted for civilian use. Humanity was entering a golden age of exploration and discovery. "The galaxy is watching us," Helen said. "Let's show them what humanity is really capable of. Not just in war, but in peace. Not just in fighting, but in building." In the council chamber, Sovereign Velthara looked at the empty seat that now bore Earth's symbol. Soon, human representatives would sit there, would vote on galactic matters, would help shape the future. "We created something dangerous," one council member said. "We forced humanity to become warriors. Now we must live with the consequences," Apps Velthara replied. "Or perhaps we simply revealed what they always were. Either way, the galaxy has changed. We can resist that change and risk everything, or we can adapt and find a new way forward." By a narrow margin, they chose adaptation. The age of absolute council authority was over. A new age, with humanity as equal partners, had begun. Captain Ryan Blake received one final message before his ship departed for patrol duties. It was from Commander Zaravine, now retired and working as a military historian. "You changed the galaxy, Captain Blake. For better or worse, nothing will ever be the same. I hope humanity is ready for the responsibility that comes with that." Ryan thought about her words as his ship jumped into hyperspace. Ready or not, humanity had taken its place among the stars. The future was uncertain, full of challenges and dangers. But it was also full of possibilities. Earth had attacked back when pushed to the edge. Earth had proven that determination and courage could overcome superior technology in numbers. Earth had earned its freedom through blood and sacrifice. Now came the harder part: living up to the legacy those sacrifices had created. Building a future worthy of those who had died defending it. The galaxy would never be the same, and neither would humanity.